reach their potential through such things as like scholarship and principled leadership training. And he is also the Raconteur at Kalypso, and Kalypso is a global innovation consulting firm. It's actually based in Austin, correct? Or
all over the world.
All over the world. That's the term, global innovation. Okay. Reagan really enjoys coming to speak to student groups such as ourselves. He talks about leadership, branding, individual ownership, and he directs the Texas Student Leadership Forum, which is hosted annually in Austin, Texas. He's the facilitator for the Housley Principled Leadership Program, and he sits on the steering committee for Leadership, which some of you may have heard of because it's here at Texas State University. In his free time, Reagan really enjoys to write. He actually has poems and creative writings of his published on his website at reaganpugh.com. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving him an enthusiastic welcome to Mr. Reagan Pugh.
Thank you, Jamie. And I think Jamie forgot to mention that I have the pleasure of knowing her from the Housley Principled Leadership Program, but before that, I spoke to the Student Organizations Council meeting for presidents, and few people ever, and all of the times that I've been able to talk to students, ever follow up and say, hey, I liked what you talked about. You're a little bit older than me. Let's get together and talk about life. And Jamie is one of those gregarious young people, and thankfully we were able to connect, and that led to the invitation to come here today. So thank you very much for having me. I will confess to you that I know nothing about business, and I know nothing about entrepreneurship, and mostly it gives me a headache to think of such things. I was a creative writing major, and with an emphasis in poetry, and I wanted to be an actor when I grew up, whenever I was younger. However, I believe that we do have similar interests, and I believe that that has to do with finding a way to take ownership over who we are, who we want to be, and charge a path forward. So I believe I have slides going on. Does that thing go on?
Just kidding.
Okay. And I will say a little bit just about the work that I do currently, if you want to talk about that afterward. And I'll talk about it a little bit throughout the conversation. Taught 10th grade English, loved it, wanted to stay in the education game. And so a mentor of mine from involvement, being here at Texas State, he had started Kalypso. And it's an innovation consulting firm after he was a partner at Deloitte for a while. And they decided that there was this niche in innovation that they were missing. And so they wanted to shift over and begin their own practice 8 years ago. Now we have 150 people around the world. A couple weeks ago, I was in an office that we just started in Mexico, where we're outsourcing some of our IT work, and that's been a blast. So I don't consult at all, but I get to do marketing and help tell the story of what we're doing around the world. And then I get also, in the spare time, to work with this nonprofit and have conversations with student leaders like yourselves. Ideally, ladies and gentlemen, this is a dialogue between us as opposed to me talking at you. So please don't hesitate to ask any questions. And also, let us make sure to give a warm welcome to Nabil, who came to the class tonight and found the room, and here he is. Way to go to get involved. I mean, for real, like to wander in and say, hey, I want to come and be a part of what's going on. That's a big deal. So awesome, man. I'm new too, but awesome. Let's be new together. So this is me, and you've seen this, and Jenny, you've seen this, and this is the way I started off the presentation last time, and this is actually kind of cool. It's the same picture, but a little bit different of the story. Last time I talked, this could be a really awful presentation on a Tuesday night. I would prefer for it to not be that, and I prefer it to just like center around what's really important. This is my cousin. His name is Sebastian, and whenever I gave this talk, whenever I first met Jamie, the point that I was making was, man, Sebastian was born with like barely any intestines, and at this point he was 6 months old, and he was not supposed to make it. And like bad. And just like 2 weeks ago, he celebrated his first birthday. And that's a pretty big deal. And I always think of that. I have that picture because I think about this idea of birth and this gift that we were given. And you know, it's even just like walking through campus today. You know, as nerdy as it sounds, like I'll stop and the wind will like blow through my jacket, you know, and I will just like think, man, like, this is all pretty awesome. The ability to be here and to have the opportunities that we have to be involved. and more importantly, to be in an organization like this who is birthing ideas about hot in the hole cat salsa or whatever we're calling it, that's pretty phenomenal. And it's a task, I think, to harness your consciousness and to remind yourself over and over of how fortunate we are. But when you really all comes down to it, we get to choose to create things out of nothing. Wow, this is pretty awesome that we get to do this. And so let us talk about that and let us engage in this conversation together. My favorite quote of all time, could someone please read this aloud for me?
Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive and go do that, because the world needs people who have come alive.
So I remember I was on the reservation, and it's the 7th worst county in the country, and there's 500 people. It's such a small town. My P.O. box was P.O. Box 4, and I remember thinking, what a jerk I would be if I leave my students. They knew the program I was a part of was only a 2-year commitment, and that there was a stereotype that you come and you go and you feel good, and then you get to go back to where there's a Taco Bell within 90 miles of where you live. And I was talking with a mentor of mine at the time who went here, and I said, what do I do? And he gave me this quote, and he said, man, Reagan, I get it, dude. It's nice to feel needed, and it's nice to feel like you're doing this selfless work. And who could tell you, anyone could never tell you that being a teacher on a reservation isn't, noble work. However, at the end of the day, you only have one of these lives as far as we're concerned. And sometimes we have to be a little bit selfish with what we choose to do and how we choose to spend our time. And the real gift that we get to give others is the choice to come alive, because that's contagious. And if you ask me, whenever we are overflowing with this energy because we're doing what we were meant to do, then that causes other people to desire to do the same. So in the class that we teach, it's a 7-week course called the Housing Principle Leadership Program, and it's really focused on self-awareness and understanding who you are and who you want to be. We really talk about this idea. Are you doing what makes you come alive? Are you choosing to be selfish in your introspection and think about first the things that you were made to do so that you can then go and be able to benefit to other people? And I hope that we get to have that conversation tonight. So it would be dumb if I sat up here and talked about all of this without knowing what makes all of you come alive. Because I don't think often we sit around and really think about that. So I will go first, and then we will go around the room, and no one gets too scared. No one, not even you, Bill, new guy. So I will say I'm Reagan, and what makes me come alive, I'm lucky to say this, is to be able to work through these conversations and these big questions about life that we maybe don't know the answers to yet. But I love the debate and the argument and the wrestling with big ideas. I love it. I could do it all day. I could do it over coffee. I could do it over a Mexican martini at River Pub. I could do it wherever I want to do it. I love doing that. It makes me come alive. You, sir.
My name's Rico, and that's a hard question.
Yeah.
Wow, we haven't thought about it. I guess I enjoy business and working and seeing a business idea start, grow, and prosper. That's something else that I enjoy doing very much.
Thanks, Rico.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My name's Laura, and I really enjoy music. That's probably one of my biggest passions in life, that I want to do something along the lines of music whenever I'm older.
What instrument?
I actually don't play an instrument. I'm a DJ and producer.
Sweet. Nice. DJ Laura.
I'm David, and I'd say what makes me come alive is seeing problems and that other people are having and helping them fix their problems. That makes me the happiest.
Thanks, sir.
I'm Casey, and what makes me come alive is probably family. Pretty broad,
Hey, no worries. Are they close by?
but about an hour and a half. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Thank you.
My name is John, and I guess what makes me come alive is seeing something develop and complete, seeing something that's been used and run down and revamped into something that is successful and profitable, prosperous for everything, not just for the business, but for the society, for the community, and just make an impact, not just make money.
Have a soul element to it as well.
Yeah, and just bring back kind of like revamp places that have been got war or something, and now they're nothing.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Name's Clayton, and I like tinkering with things a lot. I like fixing, building, creating. So probably I have to say mechanics and automobiles. Like, I don't know. I like to build stuff
That's
and fix things.
Cool. We can look at my struts after class. All right, thank you.
My name's Selena, and I'm still here. But it is, for me, what makes me alive is my family. I'm real close to a lot of people. And just the fact that I know that they always have my back and help me make decisions makes me alive.
Thank you.
I'm Lindsay, and I really enjoy seeing an event come alive and develop from nothing, and it's always inspiring.
Just reveling in that moment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ryan, probably being able to have the opportunity to experience something new every day.
Thank you. Like taking a new way to work.
Yeah, new roads, something like that.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
I'm Bill, and I really love music. I know that might sound a little cliche, but I'm a music major, and I play guitar, so that's my art. That's what I love to do.
Thanks, Bill.
I'm Rachel, and I'm gonna have to go with theirs. Like family.
Okay.
Family is really important to me, and people. I'm a people person.
Mhm.
I like to talk to people and share their ideas and just connect.
I'm Jamie, and I come alive when I can embrace a challenge and conquer it, and also when I dance.
Nice.
I'm Aaron, and
We skipped.
oh,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
You gotta go.
Oh, I like to, I feel alive when I travel and I'm in a new culture and I know nothing about it and I come out alive.
Yeah.
So I feel alive at that point.
Very good. Thank you.
I'm Aaron, and what really makes me come alive more than anything is politics and sales.
Very good. You making the trip up to the hill as session is starting?
Nah, not
Okay.
quite.
Okay. Here's what's crazy. Number one, I don't think we think about this very often. Like, if we had to stop and crystallize this thing, it really strikes a chord in who I am and makes me just feel completely alive. I don't think we think about that very often. And you want to know what's awesome? Is we went around the room, some people said, wow, I haven't thought about this in a while. Some people go, oh wow, it's family. And not a person had, barely blurted out what they wanted to say. You all had smiles on your faces as you were talking about this, and you couldn't help but want to smile while other people were talking about what they're doing. And so the connection here has got to be something that is individually important, without a doubt, because we start there. But how can we run a successful organization? How can we motivate people if we don't draw that out of people with the work that we do? That is the harder work. It is easier when in an organization to continue. It is really difficult to change. I'm not claiming to have figured it out yet, but I think that if we get to the root of it, it's aligning on what makes us come alive individually and what makes us come alive as a body of people. So who has read Malcolm Gladwell's work, The 10,000 Hour Rule? It's in the book called Outliers. Anyone familiar with it? Okay. So if one were to guess, this is a room of smart people, what the 10,000 hour rule might mean.
You put 10,000 hours into something, you become the best at it.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Or fantastic. Right. All right, exceptional. So in the book, he gives several examples. One of the Beatles, back before no one knew who they were, and no one in the UK would hire them to play. They would make road trips to Germany and play an entire weekend, 3 nights in a row, 8-hour shows where no one would listen to them. But this was the time when their fingers bled and no one was watching, that they became the band that everyone remembers today. They talk about Canadian ice hockey teams and why they seem to be so much better than American ice hockey teams, and it's because it is the unlimited amount of practice that they inject into their lives. And so the way that I want to string this along into our conversation is, okay, so we've talked about what makes us come alive. Why would we not want to pick something that makes us come alive and invest a significant amount of time into it, particularly in a college environment where we are free to fail, where it is our job to fail fast, fail often, reassess, and move forward and hone in on what it is we want to do. And so part of our Housley class, we take 7 weeks to try and figure this out. Is we hone in on our background, who we are as an individual. We hone in on what makes us come alive. We hone in on strengths and weaknesses. We hone in on specific things that we think we want to start gaining practice in. And I think that this is a key component. I remember 5 students today in our class about honing in on this one thing and figuring out what that is. It's not always going to be right. We're not always going to figure it out from day one. But I think that an organization that provides people with the opportunity to start building on the 10,000 hours worth of things that make them come alive is a pretty powerful organization. So what is it all adding up to? We're all putting in hours anyway. And so I wonder if we even know why we're doing what we're doing sometimes, particularly in the work of an organization. Again, it's easy, especially sometimes we want to be told what we need to do to fulfill our responsibility. That's the easy work. It is easy to fulfill a task, or the rare people choose to change an organization and choose to build something out of nothing. And I think that particularly an organization of this nature would be interested in doing that kind of work. I like to use it as an example. Anyone familiar with that organization called HEAT on campus? HEAT? Yeah. So the gentleman started, his name's Ian Smith, and I came across him because you couldn't miss the guy who is that passionate about this one idea, which involves helping humans, helping animals, helping the environment, and making tank tops and foam underwear with their logo on it. And I mean, how do you weave all of this together? I don't know. But I was interviewing some people for a position with our firm the other day, and there were 3 of them who had master's degrees in public relations. And every single one of them, they had great grades, they had bullet points of things that they were involved in. But whenever I asked them to tell me a story about what made them come alive, I'm pretty sure that, you know, they had a heart attack on the other side of the phone. You know, like, hold on, I am alive right now. I'm fine. You know, like what's going on? What do you mean? And no, tell me a story about a time that you believed so much in something that you were willing to log 10,000 hours when no one was watching, and then you were willing to take a risk and create something out of nothing. Can you tell me a time when you did that? Well, so I'm going to tell you about the time that, you know, I had perfect attendance at the meeting. You know, and it's, okay, good. But I think that there are rules to be followed, and then the people I think that we remember are the people who break the rules. And so, again, I don't know much about HEAT, the organization, or I know Ian, you know, a little bit, but whether you agree with it or not, I think that the common denominator that I've seen as I've been out of school for 5 years is that, man, this ability and the confidence for an individual to know what it is that they want and to create it out of nothing, I would take them any day. I would want that person on my team. It's kind of the whole hire the athlete and then figure out what sport they're going to play later. I think that's a nice common denominator of someone who has taken the time to understand what that thing is that makes them come alive and choosing to do it. And I think it also, again, applies to the work that you do as an organization. So we don't have the time to go through and do this as a group right now. I mean, in Housley, we spend weeks figuring this out. But let me tell you an exercise that I would encourage you to do. And by the way, guys, No one does this. This reflective thing, journaling in my day about my feelings, or however you want to call it, most people think is weird, and they choose to not engage in the activity. But from what I've seen so far in life, and I'm a synthesizer and I like to find themes and patterns, is that some of the most successful, by their own terms, fulfilled, disciplined, consistent people I've ever met in my life are the most reflective people that I've ever met. They choose to stop and figure out what it is that caused today to happen, what actions led up to today. They reflect on whether or not it was successful, they adjust the course, and they move forward again. It's a simple thing. It takes 10 minutes at the end of the day. But I can tell you, to walk into the next day with clarity after reflecting 10 minutes on what worked and what didn't, how you spent your time in a day is a pretty big deal. So we do this activity in our class, and over the course of a week, we tell you to go throughout your week, and every time you do something that makes you feel strong, write it down. Man, I felt really strong whenever I was able to analyze that problem in a group discussion and come up with a solution that no one else could see. Man, I felt really strong whenever I was able to mitigate this conflict with a group of my peers. I felt super strong whenever I had the discipline to work out every day. However you want to call it, let's isolate those moments of strength. And then you do the other side, and you say, when did I feel weak? At what point did I just feel drained? At what point did I feel like life was pulled from my soul and I didn't enjoy what I was doing anymore? And so this is, of course, with the objective of synthesizing like 2 or 3 things that really make you feel strong or make you feel come alive, and 2 or 3 things that make you feel weak, that drain you. We're not selling snake oil. We're not saying that you're going to get a perfect life where you find the 3 things that make you come alive, or you find your 3 strengths, then all of a sudden that's all you get to do every day. But what we are talking about is that no one can articulate that. And we have people come and speak to the House Good program all the time. And we ask them, if you had a student come into a job interview and they were able to outline for you, hey, so over the last couple of years as I've been reflecting, these are the 3 areas of strength that I feel that I've had, and so I've started to really be, consistent about making sure that the activities and internships and potential employers that I'm working, to make relationships with align with these strengths. And these are the things that whenever I do them, I feel like I'm weakened and I don't come alive. These people are like, I've never heard someone say that in 20 years of hiring people. No one has ever been that reflective. No one has ever come to me with this amount of self-awareness. I think it's worth considering. And again, this is condensed version. This is what we do, over several weeks in a course, but it's worth the activity. And I can talk to you about supplemental reading on this after class or after the meeting. So we identify these strengths. Are you involving them in the work you're doing? So in the person you are, yeah, but in the context of this organization, we're bottling salsa, guys. This is the business we're in, right? So there's got to be, in the context of bottling salsa, things that are going to make you come alive and things that are going to drain you. Some of these folks are idea folks. Man, I got the name. Give me a name, give me a name. Some of these folks, like you got the chemical stuff down. You know the vinegar and the, you know the label. And so like, and as an organization, are you stopping and taking the assessment of where everyone is? And are we putting them in their wheelhouse? Certainly there's moments where we need to figure out how to take care of weaknesses and grow in areas where we need improvement. But wouldn't it be better if we figured out a way to leverage everyone in a way that made them come alive? Again, it's not a perfect world. We're making hot cat salsa. But I think it's pretty damn good practice for the future to have that mindset as you move forward when you're working with people. So I already kind of mentioned this, and I won't spend too much time on this, but what are you becoming famous for? How many of us are on the back half of schooling? So I think, oh, we're at YouTube. So I think, do you have any stories? What kind of stories do you have in your storybook that you can tell me whenever I asked you, hey, tell me about the last time you chose to scare yourself because you knew that made for a more interesting life? Guys, I tell you what, none of us go see movies about a guy who grew up with 2 parents who loved him, went to a private school, then went to college, graduated debt-free, got a good job with a 401k, saved up, bought a Volvo, got married and had 2 kids and, died and left the trust fund for his grandkids. That movie sucks. What we do go is we see movies about a girl who grew up, didn't know her parents, and so she got a false lead and she went to go try to find them in Chicago. And then she realized she's got to dance for dollars, and this is a miserable moment in her life, but then she overcomes and she finds this dog, and this dog brings life into her world. And and then she runs for Congress, and then she's the first female president of the United States. We see movies like that, and it seems counterintuitive whenever we try to put that in our own lives, but really think about it. Good stories involve a character overcoming conflict to get what they want. I'll say that again. Good stories involve a character overcoming conflict to get what they want. Rich lives involve us choosing to do things that are hard. And good stories are a result of those choices. Tell an employer that. This is a saying that we talk about in our program, and I'm about to get it tattooed right on my sternum because I believe in it so much. Average actions do not equal extraordinary results. I'm really not going to get it tattooed on my sternum. People go through their entire lives believing that waking up every day and being regular is all of a sudden one day going to yield this amazing decade of their 40s. And I urge you to be reflective enough to wake up every day and think about what is this one new thing, this new discipline, this new risk I can inject into my life in order to be extraordinary. Because at the end of the day, when it all averages out, it's extraordinary things that yield a life that is extraordinary. So what story are you telling? In summary, I didn't talk about time management very much, but I will say this. Jamie and I had this discussion almost the first time we met. She was talking about how busy she was. And I said, Jamie, I'm way busier than you, which I am still. And my boss is way busier than me. And Barack Obama's busier than all of us. So you have the time. You make time for things that are important. You have the resources. You have been given the opportunity. There are no rules. You have 0 excuses. And the most successful people I've met are the most reflective I've met. And by the way, this whole list of things I stole from other people. I think the goal is for you to steal what works from me, and then you have your own. Because only until you internalize it and it passes through you, and you practice each one of these, that you realize what's going to work for you. Guys, this is nothing that you haven't heard before. I didn't want to come and claim to solve all of your problems, but I think it is worth stopping and considering what we are capable of and what we have the freedom to do, and it's quite endless, if you ask me. This could be a group that meets on a Tuesday night, or it could be a group that revolutionizes the way that we sell cat-named salsa. We can have some questions here in a moment, but I would like to give you money. Scholarship applications for Texas State students can be found at stelos.org/scholarships. This is the nonprofit that I work with. They're due March 22nd. We have scholarships available for students that, are above the freshman year and taking 12 hours or more. stelos.org/scholarships. Got that? The Housing Principal Leadership Program is the course that I teach. It's 7 weeks of this kind of discussion. We're about to have applications open for that. I'd love for you to join us. It's stelos.org/HPLP. That's Housing Principal Leadership Program. We have it underwritten by Motorola. It's free. We only ask that you come dedicated for 7 weeks.
It is awesome, y'all. Apply. If you still have a year left here, apply for this program. It has literally changed my way of thinking about things. I've gone to interviews and used that thing about I feel strong when, and they're totally impressed. So I just want to encourage everyone to apply. It doesn't hurt.
Thank you. We'd love to have you. You can see our discussion if you do the hashtag housing. You can see what we've been discussing. with the students in the class so far. And then lastly, tweet me right, Twitter, email, phone number, website. This makes me come alive doing this, and I am fully aware that if I give you my information, that means that you can contact me, and that's because I love empowering students to fulfill their potential, like Jamie said. So it has been a pleasure. I appreciate you having me. I'd love to field any questions I can. If you disagree with anything, push back. If you want to make an observation, I'd love to hear. I'm still developing this stuff as well. Thank you guys.
Thank you.